Sherwen. Those are the flags actually of farmers in Belgium. Paul, why is it everybody comes to this race?
Well, this is one of the best races on the calendar if you're a spectator at the side of the road. There are 31 hills on this course, and you can get out and see it maybe 6 or 7 times. This is the heart of Limburg. The riders and the spectators love this race, Phil, when they come here.
Well, with temperatures set to rise to over 80 degrees Fahrenheit today, the crowd is enormous. A little bit chilly at the start. Paul, let's talk about the favourites, because let's face it, this is a great field.
This is a phenomenal field, slightly different to the riders we've been watching over the last few weeks. This man won last year, Frank Schleck, and went on then to win the Alpe d'Huez stage of the Tour de France. Not done a lot this year, but certainly you cannot discount him because he won this event last season, and I think he's just starting to be on the ascending form. But one man who has been very open about wanting to win this race is Alejandro Valverde. Last year, he won the Flèche Wallonne and he won Liège-Bastogne-Liège. But Phil, no other Spaniard in history has ever won the Amstel Gold race. So Alejandro Valverde, he wants to win here, and it's the kind of race that really suits him. But of course, if you want to think about an Italian, Danilo De Luca hasn't done an awful lot this season, but when it comes to winning races with an uphill sprint, he is almost unbeatable. And that's why I think we can't discount here Danilo De Luca this afternoon, because this is an ideal terrain for him on his ascension up towards the Giro d'Italia.
Well, there are simply too many favourites to mention, but he's another 6 for you. Michael Bogart, he's finished 4 times second. He won in '99. Oscar Ferrer, he's won for Spain. David Rebellin, he won here in '04. Paolo Bettini, world champion, would love this one. And Ricardo Rico, remember him because you should. He's a young man growing up big time. 4 wins already this year, including 2 stages of the Tirreno Adriatico. And the other man, if Discovery Channel are going to be represented today, well, watch out for Jaroslav Popovic. Well, Paul, set up the route for us now down in Little Switzerland.
Well, thanks very much, Phil. This has got to be one of the most complicated routes in the sport of professional cycling. As a rider, you never know where you are. Starts off with a first circuit heading up towards Denmark, just up at the top there. Then it heads back down into Valkenburg for the first ascent of the Cowberg. Then you do a second circuit, and let's not forget this route has got 31 individual climbs. Back into Cowberg again at the summit of Valkenburg, and then out onto the third and final circuit with a slight incursion into Belgium, and then it's up to the finish for the 3rd time.
Listen, don't worry if you feel a little dizzy, because it does twist around a bit. Here's some facts for you. Here's the profile. Just look at all the hills here. This is the area which they call Little Switzerland. It's a holiday area in Holland. Fabulous area, beautiful day today. We can expect many thousand spectators enjoying the ups and downs of the Amstel Gold race. Here's some facts for you. Maastricht to Valkenburg in the Netherlands, and it's 252 kilometres, about 157 miles. That's about the distance from Albany, New York to Burlington, Vermont, and that's 159. And we've got the bergs. We call them all the bergs in those 3 large routes. Well, before we go to the live pictures, this is the scene this morning at the start in Maastricht. Very narrow streets. That's the story of the day in the Amstel Gold race, and the riders down there in glorious conditions because the temperature is set to soar today. Probably one of the hottest days ever known at this time of the year in this part of Holland. Once the riders were underway, though, crashes the order of the day. Rushing back to the peloton here is David Lopez. Unfortunately, the peloton stopped. He hits the back of a French rider and hangs himself up on the rider's back wheel. And this, I suppose we could call this a natural break, but this is not how you should stop to take one. And as the crashes continued too, this is an accident here at the feeding station involving a motorcycle. Igor Martinez of Team Discovery Channel colliding with that. Happily he's okay, a little bit upset about the whole thing, and the rider waiting for him is Sergio Paolino. He was the rider who got the silver medal behind Paolo Bettini in Athens in the Olympic Games. He now rides on Team Discovery Channel. Well, we're looking now at the 4 leaders. It's been a long day out front, but as you can see, the weather conditions are improving as the race goes on here. These are the 4 leaders. Sat at the back now, the hard-working Tom Stubber. We're just about 71 kilometres from the finish here. We've gone over the Cowberg for the 2nd time. Tom Stubber was the strongest man in the group there. The other riders in the breakaway, Olivier Bonheur of Bouygues Telecom, Daniel Musiol of Wiesenhof, and Peter Royer Jakkers of the skill team. Now, the last time we got a time check for was over the top of the climb of the Cowberg, 3 minutes and 44 seconds. It was out to 8, so it's coming down now.
The normal early morning breakaway. This is Johan Koenen just jumping off the front end of the main field. A little bit of chaos going through the feeding station a few moments ago. Now, the funny thing about the Amstel Gold race is although we've just been over the climb of the Cowberg Fill for the second time, these riders are going to climb straight back up to the same road they left about a kilometre ago.
That's absolutely right. But you know, this area is so untypical of Holland. Everybody thinks of Holland being cobble streets, beautifully clean and tidy and flat. Well, down here in Limburg, it is very, very hilly. It's a holiday area. The roads, you can see, are very narrow. They managed to get all of the cars off them. I don't know where they put them. And the houses here, much more Swiss-like. I guess that's why they call it Little Switzerland down here. But it's a race that many riders do love to take part in. The crowd's guaranteed to be in their tens of thousands. And this breakaway hasn't really got any rider of great pedigree. It is, as Paul called it, the early morning breakaway, and it will get caught. I can guarantee that. We look here now at the descending style of Daniel Musial. He's not got bad form, actually, because he got a 9th place finish in midweek in the Skelder Prize, which is run by the new young and up-and-coming British rider from T-Mobile, Mark Cavendish, who beat none other than Robbie McEwen in the finish of that. This is the breakaway. They know they are doomed. It's only a question of when, I guess, they'll get caught. Still to come, we'll take a closer look at one of the rising stars in cycling. Last year's Amstel Gold winner, Frank Schleck of Team CSC.
His leg speed on the climbs is the same as Armstrong.
Plus, the latest technology from Oakley helps the riders have a clearer view out on the road. And the Amstel Gold continues on towards the finish on the infamous Cowberg climb. That's all still to come.
Cyclism Sunday's coverage of Amstel Gold on Versus is presented by Hampton Hotels. Visit us online at hampton.com or call 1-800-HAMPTON.
G'day, I'm Stuart O'Grady, part of Team CSC, and I'm riding the 2007 edition of the R3. It just seems to float across the cobbles. The faster you go, the easier it seems. It's definitely the best bike I've ever ridden.
Here's your invitation to try out a DR Field and Brush mower absolutely risk-free. We're so sure you'll love it, we're willing to send you a DR to try out on your property for 6 months. Test this amazing brush cutter in tall grass, weeds, and brush, even on saplings up to 2.5 inches thick. Use it to reclaim and maintain rough, overgrown areas. If after 6 months you don't agree that the DR is the easiest handling, hardest working, most durable machine you've ever used, we'll take it back and you won't be out a penny. We'll even pay for shipping both ways. So try out a DR Field and Brush mower for 6 months risk-free. Call 1-800-515-3792. There's no obligation, but this is a limited time offer. That's 1-800-515-3792. You'll receive a free catalog and DVD so you can decide which DR model you'd like to try. From our powerful and versatile walk-behind models to our exciting new tow-behind model that lets you mow while you ride. You'll be able to see for yourself how quickly and easily the DR clears rough, overgrown areas that no other mower can tackle. And you'll see and hear how property owners from all over the country have solved their brush clearing problems for good with the DR Field and Brush mower.
I enjoy when I use it to cut down the brush because it works so well and makes light work of what would be virtually impossible to do otherwise.
If anybody's thinking about or even hesitating that they're not quite sure about it, buy it. You're not going to be disappointed.
Try out a DR Field and Brush mower, including our new tow-behind model, for 6 months risk-free. Call 1-800-515-3792. Free shipping is now in effect, but this is a limited-time offer. So call 1-800-515-3792. Online at drfieldbrush.com.
DR is professional power for homeowners.
Welcome back to the 2007 Amstel Gold Race, an event which started, by the way, back in 1966. Here's some of the most recent winners in the field today. Frank Schleck, Danilo De Luca, David Rebellin, and also there too is Michael Bogart riding his last Amstel Gold Race. These are the boys who've flown the flag on what is Holland's biggest one-day bicycle race. And there's confirmation that the gap is continuing to come down now. The 4 leaders are down to 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Quick reminder of the names: Olivier Bonheur of Bouygues Telecom, Nick Ingles of Predictor Lotto, Daniel Musial of Wiesenhof, Piet Royackers and Tom Stubber. And Ingles is the rider who's been left behind before we got to the second time up to Cowberg. So 4 riders left in front. A little bit of a tricky manoeuvre here as they queue up. This is the problem of the Amstel Gold, Paul, not just the narrow roads. We're in the streets of Maastricht here, which is right down on the River Maas, and they're always dodging traffic furniture.
That's the one thing I always remember about this bike race. It's a very dangerous bike race. You've got to be on your nerves all of the time because there is, as you say, so much traffic furniture here in Holland. And as you can see, the riders picking their way through. They're always looking for a safe way to get around a corner because they know on every street corner here in Holland there is some kind of way to divert the traffic because the roads are actually very good, made normally for bicycle use. You can see the bicycle path on the left-hand side, but when they get into town, the bicycle path actually usually gets separated from the road part of the route that the rider's taking, and that's why it makes it so very dangerous. The only place to be in the Amstel Gold Race is in the first 10 or 15 places, and we've seen already today a large number of crashes, but nearly all of them, Phil, have been at the back.
Well, the usual big field, 20 teams, all the Pro Tour teams taking part today, including Unibet.com, which seems to have a ban placed on it racing in other parts of the world. It's okay here in Holland. The Swedish setup. In some countries, not allowed to advertise gambling. And the wild cards in today: Skill Shimano from Holland, Wiesenhof from Germany, and they got a fine 3rd place last week, don't forget, with Stefan Wesserman, who's riding today in the Paris-Roubaix race, and Chocolat Jacques. And there's both Skill Shimano and Chocolat Jacques and Wiesenhof, all of them, have got riders in that breakaway.
Well, there's an example of exactly what these street corners are like. It's just like this for the whole day. It seems as if you're really on the rivet. You're always trying to move up to the front. It's always dangerous. There, just at the back there, you can see in the lime green there's Danilo De Luca, former winner of this race, taking a few risks here. I think he's actually got pretty good form though, Phil, because he's leading himself up to ride a very good Giro d'Italia. And these races this week is the first indication really we get of a different kind of rider. It's the Grand Tour riders now starting to come to the fore.
The thing is, the rider's full of fight today. It's been a very good speed, very quick indeed. That breakaway doing pretty well, I think, to hold them off quite as long as they are doing here. Last gap we've just seen, just over 3 minutes. Here comes another split in the middle. The bravest man in the business is the man that stands in the middle of the road, waving yellow for danger, which it is in Europe, rather than red. And the temperatures today, you know, in hindsight, we may find this will go down as one of the hottest days of the year, because we're heading up to 27 degrees Celsius, which is about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is very, very warm for this time of the year. And it's bringing the boys out with full of enthusiasm today.
You see how careful these riders have got to be. Just at the back a few moments ago there, you saw them lifting their bikes to jump over the obstacles in the road. The gap now down to just 3 minutes. I can see now a lot of riders in their black jerseys of Caisse d'Epargne Lille Baleares moving up to the front end of the main field. That's an indication, I think, that Alejandro Valverde wants to win this race. His team manager as much as said so, Phil, before the start. He said he's not worried really about the Flèche Wallonne and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. He's won those races. What he wants now is to try and be the first Spanish rider to put his name onto victory here at the Amstel Gold Race.
Interesting fact, Paul, that the race, although it's 252 kilometres long, which is about 150 miles, they're actually racing in a square kilometrage area of just 12.5 square miles. That's why you've got so many twists and turns.
You're never very far away from Valkenburg or from Maastricht, where the race started, and it really, I think it really gives a little bit of an advantage to the Dutch riders, because during the course of the day, the Dutch riders know exactly where they are. And even the foreign riders who've been and ridden this race 5 or 6 or 7 times, they're still never really quite sure where they are on the map.
Well, when we get into Valkenburg the next time through, then you will see just what a massive crowd is waiting in this beautiful holidaying town. Maastricht isn't that far away from Valkenburg. This is where we started. We're not going through the start line. We're now in a different part of the city. But I think it is absolutely amazing how they plot this route, how they manage to close the roads, because, you know, cycling is a hotbed in Holland, but cycle racing isn't that much allowed by the police. They only allow the Tour of Holland and the classic race here, the Amstel Gold, to get roads closed like this.
Well, the Cobb group there, you might see, that is the leading group, and as you can see now, it is inside of the 3-minute mark, and What is also important, Phil, what you just mentioned there, is most of the races in Holland are actually on closed circuits or criterium races.
That's right. Well, back out in the country with the 4 leaders, they are just 3 minutes ahead. Their days are numbered, but they're putting up a fight, and that's always nice to see. We'll take a short break.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The Saab 9.3 Sports Sedan with an available 250 horsepower turbocharged V6. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Got a lot of projects?
Yeah.
We've got what you need. Come on.
We're here because we've been there with the tools, products, and advice to get it done right. True Value. Start right, start here.
You may not realize it, but there's a source of renewable energy right in your neighborhood, and you're helping to power it. Today, Waste Management is using the resources at our disposal to create energy from waste. Enough green energy to power over 1 million homes. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think Waste Management.
The road to Paris begins on the back roads of Georgia. This year's Tour de Georgia is the toughest ever, and the Americans have much to prove to keep the yellow jersey. Who will lead for discovery? Levi Leipheimer or 2005 winner Tom Danielson? The Cyclism Tour de Georgia, presented by Hampton Hotels. Saturday and Sunday, 5 Eastern on Versus.
Hey.
Wouldn't it be nice if targeting your customers was this easy? Well, thanks to Comcast Spotlight, it is. With dozens of networks, we'll run your ads on only the shows your customers are watching. We can even let you run them in just your neighborhood for further efficiency. Comcast Spotlight. So accurate, you almost can't miss.
Affordable cable advertising is just a phone call away. 493-5100.
While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series. Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Find exactly what you need at Searchlight 888. Press 888 on your Comcast digital remote and go exactly where you want without leaving your sofa. Make your job search easier with Careers on Searchlight 888.
Well, let's take a little time out and remind you of Cyclism Sundays next week, because we have a double header for you.
Yes, that's right, Phil. We got a double header, the Tour of Georgia first, and that's the race that Team Discovery Channel always want to try and win here in the United States, and they're bringing out their big guns as well. Tommy Danielson, Levi Leipheimer, the winner of the Tour of California, and making a comeback to competition, George Hincapie, who will be looking to find some form for later on in the season. That's followed up by Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the oldest classic on the calendar, and last year's winner is back too, Alejandro Valverde of Spain. And of course, you can never discount Alexander Vinokourov, the winner in 2005.
Well, this weekend, make a note of this, because the cyclism is on both Saturday and Sunday. The world's best riders in the King of American cycling event, the Tour of Georgia, after over 650 miles, 7 demanding days. Coverage Saturday of the Tour of Georgia and also on Sunday at 5. Plus, Sunday also has, of course, the Liège-Bastogne-Liège. And we're looking at the peloton here from the helicopter now. A little pan down. They've packed up again now as they're shortening the length of that line as we get away from Maastricht back out into the country. The gap just 3 minutes to those 4 leaders. None of those leaders up front, only one has ever won a race before, by the way, but they are developing young riders and they have had some pretty good performances. So they're not really no-hopers as we might expect. For example, Tom Stubber up there from Chocolat-Jacques, he finished 3rd in the Tour de l'Avenir last year, so he's obviously a stage race rider and he's not afraid to have a go either.
That was a nice shot there, just to give you an indication of what kind of roads the Amstel Gold Race takes place on here. They're very narrow country roads all of the time. Red, white and blue there just on the left hand side, that's Michael Bogert. Announced just this week that this is going to be his last season of racing, and wouldn't he like to go out with the win? He's won this race before, Phil, but he's always ended up very much being the runner-up. And by the way, when he won this race, he beat a certain Lance Armstrong, who wasn't very happy.
No, he wasn't.
Because, in fact, Michael Bogert sat on Lance Armstrong for the last 20-odd kilometres.
He did, and only just beat him in the sprint. But that's the way it goes. If you're Dutch, of course, you want to ride well in this race. And he's riding out his last season as champion of the Netherlands, a title he's held 3 times during his career. He really has had a great career. Very, very popular rider here in Holland. And looks like Stef Weserman's got himself up to the front as well.
Second last year in this event, Stefan Weserman. He's actually having a very good classic season. Swapped across from the big T-Mobile squad now to ride for the slightly smaller German Wiesenhof squad. He, in fact, rode exceptionally well last week in Paris-Roubaix, and now I think he's looking to ride well in these Ardennes Classics. The first of the Ardennes Classics. In fact, I suppose we should say the first of the Ardennes week, because we've got the Amstel Gold race. A couple of days' time, it's the Flèche Wallonne, and then followed by the oldest classic of them all, La Doyenne, they call it, Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
Yes, and all of these 3 races, starting this weekend, are all based within a few miles of each other. Just a different country, but it's only just down the road on the River Maas. So it's a great place to base. If you ever want to come down, have a great holiday for 10 days or so, watch these 3 races and enjoy stunning countryside in these 2 countries of Belgium and in Holland. We've been into Germany already today, so be it, just so we could turn around to race back into Holland at a different position, because we are in a very tight corner of the country today.
Well, we are, in fact, on this circuit here for around about 5 kilometres. That is a slight incursion into the northern part of Belgium as well, so I suppose this is very much an international bicycle race here, because you cross into 2 different countries. This is Olivier Bonner from Bouygues Telecom sitting at the back of the group. Early morning breakaway, maximum advantage of more than 8.5 minutes, but I think the main field now is starting to be very attentive, and we're looking at 8 more very difficult climbs to come. 31 climbs in the Amstel Gold race, and the one that most of the riders fear, Phil, is the penultimate climb of the day, the Kuttenberg.
62 kilometres, that's about 39 miles still to race, and you can tell by the teams who have come to the front in the last hour or so that they are probably feeling they're carrying the favour to victory. So let's just look at them. Kees de Paan, their team leader, Alejandro Valverde, he's declared the fact he wants to win here. T-Mobile also want to continue their good run of form recently. De Luca's team Luca, on the right there, they've also been doing a lot of pace making. CSC for Frank Schleck, and of course Rabobank for Michael Bogert, who's dead centre in that red top jersey. They're the teams who feel they have the squads to crack it at the end, but this race in the last hour or so is always violently fast, and if you make a mistake, you simply lost your position, you're out. So we're just looking here at Kees de Paan on the front now, and we've had 1 or 2 tumbles throughout the day, of course, as always, people making mistakes, but fortunately no mass pile-ups, and as far as we know, no injuries today. We're still chasing 4 men. Stay with us, we'll take a break.
Now, see, when people think of Geico, right, they think of car insurance, and of course, saving money. But sometimes that can lead even the savviest driver astray. Take, for example, the motorcycle owner. He calls Geico wanting to save money on his car insurance, only to realise that he doesn't actually own a car. Well, needless to say, he's quite embarrassed, isn't he? Doesn't matter. Geico insures motorcycles and ATVs as well. That way, no one ends up looking foolish.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Nothing brings people together like boating. Get started with your free DVD at discoverboating.com.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Long live your car.
And right here. Excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thanks.
Mr. Bloom. You're a homeowner.
Thank you.
Don't worry about a thing.
Don't get blindsided by hidden fees. Call Ditech today and get a low fixed rate home loan. No surprises. Call 1-800-71-FIX today. Ditech, a GMAC company.
Between my two phone bills, it's probably about $60 a month.
About $150.
Probably $100 a month.
With Vonage, it's just $24.99 a month for unlimited local and long distance. Call now and get 1 month free, including free calls to the U.S., Canada, Puerto Rico, and Europe. And all the cool features you could ever want are included. Over 20 in all. That's a savings of up to 50% on your phone bill.
Call 1-800-971-0301.
Game 7. Any year. It all comes down to Game 7. There are seats, but no one's sitting. There will be heroes. There will be heartbreak. Everybody lives for Game 7. Only one team survives. The NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs on Versus. Stars Canucks. Game 7. Tonight, 9 Eastern. Do or die.
Well, welcome back to Cyclism Sundays. I'm Phil Liggett, alongside me, of course, Paul Sherwen, and you're watching the 42nd edition of the Amstel Gold Race. Now, last year we witnessed the emergence of a rising star from Team CSC when Frank Schleck took the win alone in the Amstel Gold. The Luxembourg rider is the subject of today's athlete profile, brought to you by Hampton Hotels. Look at the effort now by this rider from Luxembourg. Frank Schleck wins the Amstel Gold Race.
Following a year that has shaken Team CSC to its core, new riders have taken over the title of team leader, trying to reshape the team and prove that they can still do it. 26-year-old Frank Schleck is one of those men. Schleck has officially been riding for Team CSC since 2003. He was unable to get a contract following his 2001 season, so he contacted CSC team manager Bjarne Riis, who saw the potential in Schleck and brought him on board. Riis's predictions paid off. Schleck's breakthrough came in 2005 with 3 podium finishes during the last month of racing.
We got Frank Schleck coming up, getting stronger every year. I think he's going to do pretty well. I'm really convinced of that.
2006 was a coming out year for Schleck. In April, Schleck proved his worth after winning the Amstel Gold Race. Schleck broke away from the race favourites and kept his lead across the finish line. But perhaps the biggest day for Schleck came at last year's Tour de France. It was the legendary climb of the Alpe d'Huez that saw Schleck prove to the world of exactly what he was capable of, breaking away towards the finish line in front of the race's most seasoned climbers.
This is a moment I think every professional cyclist dreams of, to win at the top of Alpe d'Huez. But look at his face, time to zip up and wave to the crowd. Frank Schleck, the winner at 26 years of age.
I really think he can get on the podium in the next couple of years in the Tour. His climbing ability is sensational. His leg speed on the climbs is the same as Armstrong. He's got a similar, extremely high cadence.
With new leaders and new strategy, Team CSC can make 2006 their year. With Frank Schleck at the helm, they can leave their mark on the cycling world.
Thanks, Paul. Well, CSC is certainly having a good season. What about that victory last week of Stuart O'Grady in Paris-Roubaix? Maybe today it will be Frank Schleck's turn to shine once more. He's hitting the right age now. He's 26. He's a tall boy at 6'1", and he's been a pro now since the year 2000. Amstel Gold still his best win so far. We've just come out of the town of Bemmelen and over the Bemmelerberg, and nothing happening, just high-tempo racing over these small climbs as we race down in this little area of Switzerland. Oh, that's what they call it here in Holland. But I'm interested to see, Paul, just look at the length of the peloton. Once we get out in the country, nobody can make any progress. If you're not strong, you're in trouble.
Well, for the next hour and a half or so of racing, it's going to be real hammer-down stuff, because this is where the decisions are going to be made. Last chance to get on the board a few drinks at the back end of the group here for one of the riders from Euskaltel-Euskadi. But the main field now, Phil, is really taking this very seriously, because there is no flat on this course left this afternoon, and in fact it undulates all the way to the finish line. There are some very difficult climbs to come, and I know every rider fears the famous Kuttenberg, which is the penultimate climb of the day. And by the way, Lance Armstrong always enjoyed this classic. He loved coming here to race. And in fact, this was, I suppose, the way he was on his way back to stardom, because in 1998 he finished 4th here, based around the Valkenburg area in the World Time Trial Championships, and 4th in the World Road Race Championships as well. That we never really realised at the time, but that was an indication he was going to come back to the top of his form and win the Tour de France the next year.
Just watching there the return in style of Ruben Perez of Euskaltel, has got the bottles for the boys and is now making his way back through the peloton, doing a good job too on, of course, his favourite terrain, which is uphill. Case de Pan, that's interesting now. They've got control of the head of the peloton here, which means that Valverde must have spread the word. He's feeling good for the finish.
It's Jose Vicente Garcia Acosta, one of our favourite bike riders, always on the attack, not always the winner, but he did win a stage of the Tour de France on Bastille Day a little while back, and he's the man who will be doing most of the work here. Moving up on the right-hand side, the second CSC rider you can see there is, of course, Big Jens Voigt. But yes, Phil, a lot of black and red jerseys of Case d'Espanya, Lille Baleares. They are looking, I think, today to try and get the win for Alejandro Valverde.
And the lime, or rather the light blue jersey of Astana without their top name, Alexander Vinokurov, today. And Rennie Hasselbacher, sprinter, leads the squad. Interesting name on it, I guess, is Matthias Kessler, because he won a stage of the Tour de France when we finished on the same line in Valkenburg last year. And then he came back and he rode a criterium here and he won that as well. So it might be third time lucky for him today.
You could say he might like this part of the world, but now Team CSC are also taking a little bit of a keen interest. And well, that guy was not very happy about missing his bottle. But it's an actual art, you know, trying to take on board a bottle at around about 50 kilometers an hour. I always used to take both hands off the handlebars to make sure I got a hand behind the bottle and in front of it. But this is how not to do it. You see that he's grabbed it and he's dropped it immediately there as he tried to pull it into his chest. The rider from Unibet.com, obviously not too happy. And in fact, the Soigneur there dropping another bottle. Always a very dangerous moment of the race.
Very dangerous indeed. Luckily that bottle rolled quickly away. Nobody touched it, but very dangerous indeed. And CSC now too, looking for Frank Schleck to lead them home with another good result. Jens Voigt saying at the start today, rise number 3 by the way, this ever aggressive German rider, said at the start today that they would attack again and hurt as many people as possible with the effort, and they'd certainly be in the finale. Such a confident team right now, and carrying no real superstar, no big egos. The guys are all here to win the race and they don't care which one gets it. Now just look at that. Sorry about the little bit of the gap in the trees there, the excavation spoiling the beautiful countryside of Holland here, but the weather is sensational today. As we're now finding life at the back of the race is get your head down, you're in the office and you're flat out right now. Tea break, I reckon, is over as we race in the closing kilometres of Amstel Gold. See you in a moment.
The sun used to make our outdoor deck and patio space so hot and uncomfortable we couldn't use it.
But then we discovered the Sunsetter retractable awning. Our Sunsetter retractable awning opens and closes in just 60 seconds. It keeps our patio about 20 degrees cooler.
It provides instant shade and instant protection from the sun's harmful rays.
And our Sunsetter costs under $700.
But now you can get your Sunsetter for as little as $398 when you call now to get this special $200 discount certificate.
We love our Sunsetter retractable awning, and you're going to love yours too. It transforms your outdoors from sweltering sun to shady oasis in only seconds.
Call now for this free awning idea kit packed with great awning solutions that will let you enjoy your deck or patio much more often this summer. Plus, get this $200 discount certificate that will bring you your Sunsetter for as little as $398.
But this is a limited time offer. Call now.
Sunsetter retractable awnings are assembled in America and are guaranteed to last for years.
And talk about extras. You can choose from motorized awnings for push-button opening and closing, or choose screened-in models for bug-free outdoor living, all for just a bit more.
No wonder Sunsetter is America's best-selling retractable awning.
Call now to get the whole Sunsetter story. You'll get this free awning idea kit with DVD plus a $200 discount certificate, and there's no obligation.
Hundreds of thousands of families own and love their Sunsetter retractable awnings. We're one of them, and you should be too.
Stay cooler and enjoy your deck or patio much more often.
And do it all at $200 off if you call now.
Call now for your free awning idea kit with DVD and $200 discount certificate. Life is better under a Sunsetter. Call now and save.
Call 1-800-366-9042. 1-800-366-9042.
Turin, for the bike of your dreams. Turin, a great selection, terrific service, and outstanding product knowledge. Turin Bicycles.
Simply the best value on bikes and accessories. Turin Bicycles, centrally located at the northeast corner of Spear and Lincoln.
As we grow older, one of our greatest challenges is holding on to our independence while still being able to get assistance when we need it. That's why, if you live alone, I recommend Alert USA. With this system, if you're ever in need of assistance, just press the pendant and be connected to an operator who can summon help. With Alert USA, you can remain independent while remaining safe. And although the system is state-of-the-art, it's also affordable. To find out more about Alert USA, call now.
Back with the 42nd Amstel Gold race in Holland today, but the Tour de France is always in our minds, and none more so than this week, because look at this. The Tour was sullied last year, said the race director Christian Prudhomme, and that won't happen again. Cycling can't afford to let riders implicated in the case enter the Tour if they're not cleared of all suspicion. The information from Germany concerning Jan Ullrich has put it, which is Operation Puerto, right back into the spotlight. And naturally, the level of suspicion on the riders implicated has been pushed up a notch. We have outlined to Johan Bruneel what seems to us the right path to take. Now, what he's talking about here, Paul, is the fact that he's now asking all riders who's got riders on their squad have been implicated by name only in Operation Puerto, and in Johan Bruneel's case, he signed the hot one, Ivan Basso, not to be part of the team composition. What do you think?
Well, it's a difficult one because this is a company, this is an organization, the Tour de France, who have battled since 1966 and been at the forefront of the lead against doping in sport, not just cycling, but any sport at all. It is very difficult because all we can say, Phil, is that these riders currently are only linked by rumor and innuendo, although it has been now proven that there is a definite link between the blood found and Jan Ullrich. It doesn't necessarily mean that he took that blood, and it's still, to me, a very tenuous link. But everybody now will be asking the questions, can they or can they not ride the Tour?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Is it circumstantial or are they cheats? Nobody wants drugs in sport, but the question is, does anybody have the right to stop a professional earning his living when so far nothing has been proved against him? Well, why not have your say? Come on to the web poll. Should Ivan Basso and the rest of the riders associated with Operation Puerto be allowed to start the 2007 Tour de France? Tell us yes, no, or only if Basso supplies a DNA test. I look forward to your answers and questions. Thanks a lot. Well, Basso, of course, not in the team today, but I'll tell you what now, Paul, the screw has suddenly been turned tighter. Look at the peloton now. They are closing in rapidly on the leaders. We've had a check of a minute 20, but I reckon it's probably a minute now.
It's coming down very quickly, and when somebody needs to turn down the screws on a peloton, it's that man we just caught a glimpse of a few moments ago, big Jens Voigt. Not really riding for himself, I don't think, Phil. I think trying to set something up for Frank Schleck here this afternoon. This is the chaos at the back end of the group. You know, this road, this race zigzags all over Limburg. Just on the back there, I can see a golden helmet. I would expect that to be Stefan Weissman. Yes, it is in the green jersey. Now, this is a good move by big Jens Voigt. Look at the style. It is a style of a fighter, a style of a puncher. He's all over the machine. He wants to get every last little bit of energy out of his body there.
Yeah, but he's a superb, aggressive bike rider. He knows only one way to race. His last win came just about 10 days ago, 4th day of the Tour de Pays Basque in northern Spain. Weather was a little bit different then than it is today. They had rain on those days and a bit chilly, but now it's swung around to almost high summer here in Holland. And just sitting there at the back, Wiesenhoff having a great season. Stefan Weissman on really good form. He's gone across to Wiesenhoff and he's added so much experience to this team. It's always seen as a second string team in Germany. He's given it a little touch of class, I think. And this little group now, I think we're seeing the seeds being sown of the final decision.
Well, M1 and M2 there is the motorbike 1 and the front motorbike 2 in second position on the road. I have to say, Phil, although you say it's a second string team, they have ridden like a top team this year in this last week of racing anyway, because they've always been in the action, and most of it really has been done by Stefan Weissman.
That's absolutely right. These are the four leaders, not looking quite as zippy as they did 2 hours ago. The lead was up to over 8 minutes. It's now down to, I think, almost in sight here, the chasers. These narrow streets will keep them out of sight of that group, but that group is absolutely flying now.
Little town of Ekelrad, that's 50 kilometers to go to the finish. Now these three riders are just about to make the junction, and once they've gone through Ekelrad, Phil, they've got about 6 kilometers to the next climb of the day, which is the Wolfsberg, a rather nasty little climb. Look at Jens Voigt. You've got to admire his style here. It really is the style of a man who's going out and taking this race to them.
Well, that's it. They're all together as they've just come up rather quickly, but they were round the corner. Our camera didn't show us that, but now that they're reaching, and this is the leading group now, and there is the composition for you. And Rigi was the other rider who came up. He's on the Lamprey team, Daniela Rigi. I thought for a moment it was the man on form, Enrico Franzoi, but it wasn't. It was Rigi. Now, new impetus in the breakaway, and up to his teammate, alongside his teammate Musial, has come the team captain, Stefan Wesserman, and immediately Musial prepared to work till he can work no longer.
Well, Tom Stubber went straight out of the back on that one. You can also see the young Frenchman, Olivier Bonner, is also going backwards. That is because all of a sudden the big powerhouses, the big engines have moved to the front here of this bike race. Wesserman looks over his shoulder, knows that he will get help from Jens Voigt, because Jens never does not go to the front of a breakaway like this. He loves this kind of racing.
Just look at this man go. Now, well, as we're seeing Voigt and Wesserman set the leaders of the Amstel Gold on fire. Let me remind you, the NHL playoffs every night on Versus. The Dallas Stars and Vancouver Canucks battle in a winner. Take all game number 7. The NHL playoffs on Versus, do or die, starting tonight at 9. Well, there's a look at the peloton, and there's been a crash here, and that's Schleck. Is that Schleck on the floor? And it looks like a terrible crash here. He's really walloped there, that gate or the hedge. Well, this is terrible. Frank Schleck, our cameras didn't see it happen unless they've recorded it and will show us in a moment. We've cut straight to it from that leading group.
Well, this happened at the back of the group here. There is Bjarne Riis in the blue shirt up alongside him. That's the team manager, the man who himself was a winner of the Tour de France back in 1996. That, Phil, is why this race is a race of nerves, a race of attrition. It is so dangerous all of the time. You've got to be alert. You've always got to be there. Well, that is the end, I think, of the hopes of Frank Schleck here of making it a double this year. He seems to be okay. He's compos mentis, so that's okay. He's talking to Bjarne Riis, but that was a very heavy crash.
Well, that's really bad luck, and what a difference a year makes. Last year, racing to victory in this event. A year on, when he's riding with number 1 on his back, he sat here on the roadside. It's happened at around about slightly less than 50 kilometres from the finish. And I'm pretty sure, because he's hit his head, I think he's hit his face actually. I think his nose is bleeding a little bit here. No, he's okay. I think he'll want to go on, but you know, his nose is bleeding. I think they might suggest he stops. We'll see. There is Kim Andersen, who's just walked out of the picture to the right, former yellow jersey in the Tour de France for Denmark, enjoying his new life as an assistant to the team, as a director sportif. Well, that really is sad. The race still has a reasonably long way to go. We're now in San Gertrude with 46 kilometres to go for the leaders. And remember that we've lost now Frank Schleck. As he gets back on his bike, he's going to ride, but he'll have a job catching up.
Amstel Center, this is Matt.
Hey, I got a quick question. My check engine light is on. Is this something that you guys take a look at?
I can.
And how long does it take?
30 seconds. We can run a diagnostic probe. We can check your airbag, your braking, and your engine and transmission systems for errors.
What do I got to do?
Nothing.
That's insane. Hey, can you come over and clean my room?
Unfortunately, that's not included with your package.
All right, buddy. Take care.
OnStar, available on over 50 models from GM.
Hello, can I help you?
How much horsepower does this thing have?
That one's 19.5 horsepower.
Easy to start.
You betcha.
What's the cutting swath on this?
17 inches.
My yard has a lot of trees.
Then I'd go with the John Deere Zero Turn Radius Mower.
Do you offer financing?
Sure do. Use your Lowe's consumer credit card and pay nothing for 12 months on any purchase of $299 or more.
What is the definition of torque?
The measure of how much force on an object causes it to rotate.
Okay, store's opening and you're ready.
At Lowe's, we make sure our people know their stuff. Lowe's, let's build something together.
Imagine getting a 4-star hotel at a 2-star price. You can at Hotwire.com. How do we do it? When 3- and 4-star hotels have unsold rooms, they use Hotwire to fill them. So you get them at prices lower than any other travel site. Guaranteed. Like 4 stars in San Francisco. Travelocity price $219. Hotwire price just $102. Why risk paying more when Hotwire gets you unsold rooms at deep discounts? Save big at Hotwire.com. 4-star hotels, 2-star prices.
HOTWIRE, Hotwire.com.
I'm thinking of a number. Do you know what it is? It's 20 million. That's how many people have already checked their free Experian credit report at freecreditreport.com for some very good reasons.
Now we can monitor all 3 of our national credit reports every day.
It helps us save money and check for potential identity theft.
I got my credit report and credit score online in seconds.
Isn't it time to get your free credit report and score? Well, log on now to freecreditreport.com.
Offer applies with Rowan Triple Advantage.
The road to Paris begins on the back roads of Georgia. This year's Tour de Georgia is the toughest ever, and the Americans have much to prove to keep the yellow jersey. Who will lead for Discovery? Levi Leipheimer or 2005 winner Tom Danielson? The Cyclism Tour de Georgia, presented by Hampton Hotels. Saturday and Sunday, 5 Eastern on Versus.
Welcome back as we're with the Amstel Gold today. Here's all the winners for you, and Holland, not surprisingly, have won the most times, almost half of the editions here with 17, and Belgium, surprisingly, chasing them with 9 wins. But everybody else, they barely get a look in this race, although last year Frank Schleck became the first rider from Luxembourg to win this event. Well, we're looking at the Cop group, or the leading group now in Amstel Gold, and remember, we've just lost Frank Schleck. Yes, he has remounted, but unless I think he's riding just to loosen his legs up, I can't see him coming back into the action, Paul.
Well, I don't think I can see him coming back in either, because the pressure is certainly on in this race as we get to around about in 1.5 kilometres time for the next climb of the day, the Wolfsberg. I can see by the way that Jens Voigt is riding here, he wants to be the first man onto that climb, but behind, at just 30 seconds, the main field is being ripped along there by Kees de Pagne, Lil Baleares. So obviously now Alejandro Valverde is thinking about the victory here himself this afternoon. This is Stefan Weissermann. Next man through there is Daniele Rigi, and just tacked on the back there, the survivor of the early morning breakaway is Pete Royakkers from the team Skill. But you can see, look at the movement in the main field, moving up around the outside, moving around the left-hand side. Everybody's trying to get to the front end because they know this next climb, the Wolfsberg, is a fairly narrow, steep climb.
Well, at high speed, it was held for about 20 minutes or so. Really altered the face of this race in just a few kilometres. Recharging up front, blowing away the original breakaway. There's the world champion in the peloton, happily dodging all these little individual tumbles we're seeing today, and sadly Schleck coming off the worst.
Just 122 just moving forward there was Patrick Sinkiewicz, not too far away from the front, as you say, is the world champion. Michael Bogert in the red, white and blue champion of Holland as well, riding at the front end of this peloton. This is the kind of course that I think would very much suit Paolo Bettini. You know, he's never won the Amstel Gold race, and he's won nearly every other of the major one-day classics, so he too would like to notch up a win here this afternoon. And I think, Phil, after a couple of weeks off, he'll be fighting to be aggressive in the end. Here's Schleck at the back of the group, trying to get himself into this race. This is a sign of courage.
Well, it is. His face must be pretty sore, but fortunately he doesn't seem to have hurt himself that badly. Team car there, a little bit of a professional foul just hanging in the proximity of him, and no doubt will lean out to check him out now, because there is the marks on his elbow. We never actually saw the crash, we just came to it when he was lying in the road, but clearly he hit that either the metal gate or the hedging on that slight left-hand bend. Well, the peloton are now in full cry. Time is running out. They know they want to finish it off pretty early now, and they know that they've got two very good on-form riders with an immense show of strength have reached that leading group, and they've thinned it down to 4 riders. But now it's a very serious 4 riders. Daniele Rigi, Jens Voigt and Stefan Weissermann are the big hitters up there. Look at this now, dodging through the cars.
Well, just at the back there was the spare police motorbike, so this man is right at the back end of the convoy. Struggling a bit, you can see by the way that he's pedaling there that he's not comfortable at all. This man is hurting, but he wants to get himself back into this race. This to him is a question of pride. He's last year's winner, wears #1, and if he can just hold on into the cars for another kilometre or so, he might recuperate enough, Phil, to get himself back into this race. But how much damage has he actually done to his body?
Yeah, and how much effort is it taking to get back here? The car doing its best to stay within the rules, but also try and give him a little break from the effort and get him up there. And usually, especially in Holland, the race referees tend to turn a blind eye, providing it's not exaggerated pacing, because when something happens like this, it is not the fault of the rider. They don't mind if he can get back into the break. If he's gone off because of effort, they're beyond to the problem straight away.
Well, when you see the main field, there's a small group of riders just at the front there, and you can see these little directional islands every few kilometres are so dangerous for the riders. But you can see a long line of riders stringing out at the back end of that head of the peloton group there, Phil. That's an indication the pressure is really on. It's going to be a long, hard ride for Frank Schleck to actually get himself, first of all, into the main field, and then possibly try and drag himself up to the front.
It's going to hurt him, and that's for sure. I still have my doubts he'll actually do it today now, but as we get back up to the leaders, remember that this also is the last year of the great Michael Bogart. That's why his team are now throwing a lot of weight behind the chase. We're looking at Juan Antonio Fletcher. He's had a little flurry today. He's been in a small group that got off the front, but he's now back in the bunch, clearly throwing any chance he fancies of winning this race in favour of Michael Bogart. I'm absolutely certain the whole of Rabobank today will try to get Michael over the line first. What a way to retire.
What a way to retire. He's won this race once. I think he's finished second on 4 occasions, Phil. And that is quite a remarkable performance by this man who has always been consistent. You know, he may well try and see if they can get the victory for Oscar Freire, but if there is a hint in his mind that he can win the race here this afternoon, he will certainly try and do that. That is Bjarne Riis spraying a little bit of water onto his man here just to try and wake him up a bit, try to make sure that he can keep himself in the race. Mechanic is trying to look for any possible mechanical problem there. That's probably what we would call a professional mechanical foul.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody can begrudge this man trying to get into the race in any possible way possible.
Well, a little bit of a downhill section here now. Good roads. Frank Schleck is coming back, but at what cost to the effort today? He's hurting for sure. Will he get back? We'll take a break and we'll update you shortly.
The only thing more exciting than watching the Tour de France on Versus is to watch it live at the finish line. The Ride of Your Life Sweepstakes, brought to you by Versus and Hampton Hotels. Book a room at any Hampton hotel on Hampton.com. Enter the promo code TOUR, and you'll be entered to win one of 2 grand prize trips to Paris, with VIP seating to watch the 2007 Tour come to a dramatic finish. Don't let this ride pass you by. The Ride of Your Life Sweepstakes, and watch the Tour de France on Versus.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Long live your car.
Dinner for one should not be a compromise. That's why there's new Corner Bistro flatbreads from Stouffer's, like grilled steak fajita on a crisp chipotle seasoned crust. Stouffer's. Every dinner should feel this good.
This May, the USA takes on the world with one goal in mind: bring back the Cup. The America's Cup sets sail this May on Versus.
What drives you? Fame? Fortune? Following the crowd? How about being part of something much bigger than yourself? As a citizen and soldier in the United States Army Reserve, you'll train near home and serve when needed. Call 1-888-851-ARMY now. Hear what it's like to be a soldier from real Army Reserve soldiers. Plus, get a free messenger bag. Explore over 120 careers. Get help paying for college. And see if you qualify for an enlistment bonus. Call now to find out how you too can become Army Strong in the Army Reserve.
Call this toll-free number now for your free visitor's guide filled with great vacation ideas. Daytona Beach, 23 miles long, a million memories wide.
Everybody lives for Game 7. Only one team survives. The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on Versus. Game 7, tonight.
Well, welcome back to the Amstel Gold All Action. This is Frank Schleck trying to rejoin the peloton, and I think he might get back just about now. He's working very hard indeed. Now, remember that Oakley were the first people to really contact the riders and provide sunglasses, and they're ever looking for innovation. And that continues because one of the biggest enemy of the riders is dust and muddy conditions. Well, Oakley says they have a solution.
Hi, I'm Steve Liggett with Oakley, and one of the things we do at Oakley is we listen to our athletes. We find out what's missing, what's performing, and what we can do to make things better. Today we have something new here. This is the Radar Performance Eyewear, and what was missing from our current eyewear was something to repel water, oil, fingerprints, things that get in the way while you're out riding. We have a new coating that we're going to be putting on all of our new Radar and Flak Jacket eyewear. And it's basically smudge-proof. It's a barrier we hard coat on to the lens. We call it hydrophobic and oilophobic. We'll take a marker here, which I don't recommend doing with your own eyewear. You just ruined your glass unless you have the coating on your lens. So you just try and wipe it clean while you're on the bike. Seems to do okay unless you have something that's not coated on there. This is the same glasses you'll see on George Hincapie, Vinokurov, and the rest of the Oakley crew, and it's available now just for you.
Looking down at the world champion here now, Paul, in the Amstel Gold race, and working very hard. He always looks so casual. He's a master of holding position in the peloton, Paolo Bettini.
Well, his position is always at the front end of the main field. This is at the back end of the race. This is in the race convoy with all the team managers. Frank Schleck, last year's winner, went down very hard indeed. You can see he's obviously hurting for a few kilometers or so. He will, but this man won't give up.
No.
I think he was a little bit dazed when he went down, but he's in the convoy of cars, so he can't be very much more, Phil, than around about 30 seconds off the back end of the main field. Now, as a professional, a seasoned professional, you've got to be calm in a moment like this. You know that once you're in the team cars, you've got a very good chance of getting back into the race, but you have to take your time. You have to move from car to car. If you stay behind one car too long, the referees will whack you with a big fine and may even kick you out of the race if they think you're taking advantage. There you can see the peloton. He's only about 10 seconds off the back. He's stayed calm. He's ridden himself back into this race. But I wonder if he's got anything left for the finale.
As you saw there, they gave him a bottle, which is legal. He didn't want it. Once he got the push, though, he threw the bottle away. Schleck is making his way through here and is looking quite good now, but he needs a few deep breaths and a little bit of a respite. As we go through the caravan, you're seeing riders in the caravan. They've been left behind on the climbs now as we're heading up towards, I think it's the 26th climb of the day. And he's finding riders all the time, but they can't help him because they are really going the wrong way while Schleck is trying to make ground. It's a fine piece of riding this, and no doubt inspired by the fact he is the winner of this race 12 months ago. There is the tail of the peloton now. Life is beginning to look a little bit better for Frank.
We've just got a glimpse there of the countryside we're going through here. This is the Limburg. It's nestled in between Belgium and Holland, and not far away really. If you go a little bit further to north, you go up towards Denmark. Here, these riders now, as they get the pace up, are not even paying attention to what's happening to Frank Schleck behind. I think he's obviously got very good form here this afternoon. He was the #1 rider for Team CSC, and he's hoping that he can get back into the main field and recover over the next 15 or 20 kilometers and try and get himself in a good position to the base of the Kuttenberg, which is the penultimate climb. The fact, Phil, that he's ridden like this is an indication that he's got great form, and that's why he won't give up.
Well, he's on the adrenaline as well. Let's hope he gets there. We're just on the edge of the Slenderken now, so we're inside 25 miles from the finish. As remember, the breakaway is still clear with Jens Voigt, Stefan Wesserman, Peter Royacker, and Daniela Rigi. They're the four now setting the pace. And, you know, on these narrow roads, you see how the cars are dodging in every direction. It really is. Life at the back is not for the nervous on any bike race, but it's accentuated on the Amstel Gold race.
Well, don't forget that nearly all of these team managers driving the cars, by the way, are ex-professional bike riders themselves. And when they're driving the car, they're not looking at the front. They're looking forwards and backwards and to the sides all of the time because they know that riders are coming up through the main field. And by the way, there's a little code too, because what you will see as Frank Schleck here, Phil, joins the back of the field is you'll hear an awful lot of horns going off, and that is a warning for all of the riders and the team managers that another rider is coming up through the convoy.
Well, a huge effort as we start the climb of the Luerberg at 36 kilometers still to race in the Amstel Gold race. Hats off to Frank Schleck, because I really thought he didn't have a chance at getting back today, and he's ridden superbly. A lot of it on the adrenaline coursing through those veins after that rather unfortunate crash he had. And so he's now back in the race, the winner rather of last year. And 15 seconds is the gap. It says 15 minutes on there, but I can assure you that is absolutely wrong. We will take a short break.
Subaru Outback presents, inspired by the great outdoors, the wind in your face, the sun warming your skin, the rushing torrents of the sea. There's nothing like getting in touch with Mother Nature. Whether by land, by sea, or by defying gravity, the world of the outdoors is ours to discover. Some say it isn't for everybody, but then again, they've probably never felt like this. And there's no better way to get in touch with the great outdoors than with the Subaru Outback. With its rugged off-road capability, high ground clearance, and road-gripping all-wheel drive, the Outback can take you to find your own particular slice of heaven, wherever that may be. Safety and control of all-wheel drive standard in every vehicle. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
the all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza.
Advantage, I talk as much as I want, pay a lot less. It's just $24.99 a month, and that includes voicemail, caller ID, three-way calling, and a lot more. The voice quality's great, and they even get to keep my same phone and phone number. I've had Vonage for 4 months. Should have gotten it a long time ago.
Get unlimited local and long-distance calling for just $24.99 a month. Sign up now and get 1 month free. Call 1-800-918-4866.
Game 7, any year. It all comes down to Game 7. There are seats, but no one's sitting. There will be heroes. There will be heartbreak. Everybody lives for Game 7. Only one team survives. The NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs on Versus. Stars Canucks, Game 7, tonight, 9 Eastern. Do or die.
It is spectacular. There's always crashes and a lot happening in the race, and it's so important in those races to know the parcours. And I've already done the races so many times, so I know exactly my way, and that's a huge advantage in those races. If you put a really good rider who has never been there, you put him in that race, he will get lost. He just go crazy.
And Carsten Kroon, of course, the man being headhunted now by Rabobank to try and get him to replace the now retiring Michael Bogart. We'll see. He always rides well in this race. 70 kilometres an hour, indicating the speed of the descent here. But the pressure's gone off a little bit, Paul. They got within about, 15 seconds of the leaders, and now they're just pegging them. Nobody seems to want to go and join them.
Yeah, we're looking about 44 miles an hour as the riders go down one of these little bergs, the Hellingen they call them up here. And I think what's happened now is that we're going into a status quo as they now realize that's a fairly serious group they've got at the front. This group, to me, the two most dangerous riders in there are Jens Voigt and, of course, Stefan Weissermann. But they're waiting, I think, till the next climb of the day, which is the Hulpenberg. As you can see, this rider at the back here from Quick-Step is having a little bit of a problem with probably cramp, and that is Giovanni Visconti wearing number 22 in the blue there as he plunges down into the valley. It really is a zigzag. It's to quote a famous phrase from a very famous television commentator by Phil Liggett, it's like taking a piece of spaghetti and throwing it down on the slopes here of the Limburg Mountains, because that's what this race looks like.
It does indeed. Well, this group today has been very persistent, but the strength of Weissermann and Voigt, and indeed Daniele Righi, reaching the original breakaway, they've blown away all of those original riders now, and they're trying to make the pace themselves, and here they are. And as you can imagine, it's Jens Voigt driving at the front, the Cop group, the head group, 24 seconds. So they pulled out a couple of seconds here. I think it's a forlorn hope, but you never know what an effort like this to chase these star riders down will create a ripple at the back of the field that could decide the race.
Well, you don't ever give a chance to Jens Voigt, and when you link him up with Stefan Weissermann in the green jersey there, that is a very dangerous combination. Those two riders are big winners. The man at the back there now in the Lamprey colours of the blue and pink, Daniele Righi, has never actually won a professional race in his career, yet he's been professional since 2002. But he will be looking for a good performance here, because actually Lamprey throughout these classics have ridden fairly well too. There's the name of the Cop group, by the way, is the front group of the race, and they now actually have stretched it out to around about 25 seconds. I think that will change when we get to the next time, the Gulpenberg, because you can see a lot of the big names starting to queue up at the front, looking for a time to try and make another move.
Well, this is the main field now, and skill, again, they're only a wild card selection, but again, very prominent in a big classic race. They've had the Roy Jackers up there. He's now back here, by the way. When the pace got a little bit hot moments ago, he got sent back to the bunch in no short shrift. Now this is an attack here by Sonia Duval as they start now to try it. I'm just wondering which one this is, but it could be Rico, the way he's started the attack. Somebody danced up on the outside there on the sidewalk. He's got back into the right position. This is a big, serious effort, this.
Well, a lot of riders will take risks in this race because any chance you've got of moving to the front end of the main field, you take it. Whether it be the cycle path, whether it be pedestrian pavement at the side of the road, it's an opportunity to move up to the first 10 or 15 places. And these riders now are starting to get that little bit nervous because they're heading themselves up towards the Kulpenberg. See how complicated it is at the back. It is so very dangerous. You have to be on the front of your saddle all the time, observant. You have to be attentive because around any corner there could be a directional island like that.
Well, it's not Rico, but it is certainly quite an effort that's being made here at the front now. The Astana rider is Sergei Ivanov, I think. Yes, it is, as he rocks and rolls. And just up here now, so it's number 53, so that puts it at Manuela Mori, and a rider coming up from Unibet.com. So this is the start now, which will take us up to the leaders, I think.
Well, Unibet would like to try and get a performance here because they've been excluded from the next two big races to come up in the week that follows. They're not allowed to ride the Flèche Wallonne, and they're not allowed to ride Liège-Bastogne-Liège either.
No, and that's a great sadness, but as I said earlier, it's because they're a Swedish team, but they advertise gaming and betting, and in some countries that's illegal, and the organisers are making a big play on this, that they can't take them into the races as they might face legal action from the judiciary of their country. So for the time being, Unibet.com are not free to race in France or indeed in Belgium. But they are in Holland, and they're doing well, and they're trying to get a man in the chase group right now.
Well, they've got a man in the chase group. And just looking here, we've got a rider from Crédit Agricole here who's made the junction as well. That is Francesco Bellotti. Now, he is a very good rider. This is a serious move starting to form, but it's all coming back together. Achtervolkers, by the way, is the chasers.
All right, well, they tried. They've caused a reaction. I think it's now going to be pretty much a free-for-all in the Amstel Gold now, as attack after attack as they try to reach those leaders of Jens Voigt, Stefan Westermann and Daniela Rigi. I think it won't be long before this race is all together with everything, as they say, to race for. We'll take a break.
It comes with everything. Stereo cassette, 2D navigational system, automatic anti-theft device. But high-mileage cars can also come with engine wear, because they burn oil faster. So get Castrol GTX high mileage for superior oil burn-off protection. In lab tests of 10W30, 17% better than leading conventional oils.
Hey.
Castrol GTX high mileage. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
All the time, you feel me?
Man, what's the deal with them? They ain't bugging.
Greasy fast food can slow you down. Introducing Subway Fresh Fit Meals with new better-for-you sides and drinks. It fits into the American Heart Association's approach to a healthy lifestyle. So fuel up and power on. Subway, play hard, eat fresh.
Get started in boating with your free DVD at discoverboating.com.
The road to Paris begins on the back roads of Georgia. This year's Tour de Georgia is the toughest ever, and the Americans have much to prove to keep the yellow jersey. Who will lead for Discovery? Levi Leipheimer or 2005 winner Tom Danielson? The Cyclism Tour de Georgia, presented by Hampton Hotels. Saturday and Sunday, 5 Eastern on Versus.
Hey.
Come on, ladies, 3 a.m. feeding. A hungry baby waits for no one. Spoon and feed. Spoon and feed. Spoon and feed. Move it, move it, move it.
There's no formal training to be a mother or how to eat when you're pregnant. That's why there's WIC. WIC provides nutrition information, healthcare referrals, even food. Your child has you, and you have WIC.
While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series. Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Find exactly what you need at Searchlight 888. Press 888 on your Comcast digital remote and go exactly where you want without leaving your sofa. Make your job search easier with Careers on Searchlight 888.
Before we rejoin the action in the Amstel Gold Race, make sure to check out the Ride of Your Life sweepstakes, brought to you by Versus and Hampton Hotels. Just book a room at any Hampton hotel on hampton.com before May 15. Enter the promo code TOUR during the booking and you'll be entered to win one of 2 grand prize trips to Paris with VIP seating to watch the final stage of the 2007 Tour de France. Good luck. Well, this is the peloton now as they've just started to climb the Gulpenberg, and history will tell us this is where the pressure goes on at 28 kilometers to go. We are still seconds behind that leading trio of riders, and now it's Astana having a go.
Well, Astana now in the turquoise colours of the team from Kazakhstan are really putting the pressure on. This is a beautiful racing road here, a very narrow racing road. You can see Michael Bogert knows this course to absolute perfection. There he is over on the left-hand side there in the red, white and blue, riding Phil his last ever Amstel Gold Race. He's going to join Eric Decker in retirement. Eric Decker retired at the end of last season. 2 big names, I have to say, Phil, for Team Rabobank over the last few years. I have a feeling today that Team Rabobank must be riding for Patrick Sinkiewicz. He's never been very far away from the front end of the main field.
Well, this is the T-Mobile boys now setting the pace. I reckon they might be trying to bat here for Michael Rogers, because although he's hurt his knee recently, he does seem to have a pretty good form. And let's not forget Marcus Berghardt, who was a great winner of the midweek Gent-Wevelgem race a couple of weeks ago.
Don't forget the world champion riding in 4th position there, Paolo Bettini. Look how these team soigneurs get around this course here. They move around as quickly as they can to try and give drinks up to the riders. It's a very hot day here, creeping up to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, a very hot part of the year, because normally we've seen this race. In fact, in the recent past, we've actually not been able to broadcast the Amstel Gold Race, Phil.
Move. This is another move by Quick Step now. Everybody trying to get in on the action. I thought they might have closed the gap down on the Gulpenberg, but they didn't, as they're now trying to go after those leaders again, and this time Quick Step have launched an attack.
Well, this is a big move here for Quick Step. I'm sure this is to set something up for Paolo Bettini, because Bettini's been very present at the front end of the main field. Just slipping through there. The rider from Quick Step has decided he's going to try and move clear. This is the Spanish rider, Carlos Barredo, trying to get himself an advantage. Again, I think really, Phil, this is a move to take the pressure off Paolo Bettini, but of course to act as a carrot halfway across the gap to the 3 leaders and the peloton. Tricky roads, very complicated roads these.
And look at the crowds.
Yeah, the crowds are always out here. This is a great celebration for Holland. Look at the way he went round that corner. No prisoners taken at all there. Didn't even want to touch his brakes at all. And there's the main field stringing out behind him.
So Carlos Barredo, man that started the action, has got himself up to the lead. These aren't the leaders, no. They are. He's got right across as easy as that. These are the 3 leaders. Sorry, he hasn't got across yet, as he got onto good roads here. Well, they're only just around the corner as we are in the town of Gulpen with 27 kilometers to go, and Stefan Westermann talking to the team director here saying, how are we doing? Well, the answer is not very well, because they haven't really pulled away from the chase, and I think the chase feel they're saying 10 minutes, but it's only 10 seconds. There should be 2 little dashes there, not 1.
10 seconds.
As we're looking now at a gap which is closable at any time.
Well, we're getting into a very strategic part of the course now, Phil, because when they come out of the town here of Gulpen, they've got around about 4 kilometers and another climb. Thank you very much. Climb number 27 on the day, and that is the climb of the Kruisberg. But for all of these riders, they know the next most important climb is going to be the ascent of the Kuttenberg. Most of these riders, and for the aficionados, will have a 25-tooth sprocket on for the Kuttenberg. It is a beast of a climb.
And that could be the big decisive move of the day. Everybody now getting very, very nervous here. The lead group has swelled enormously in a matter of seconds. Nobody wants to take up the running. I think that Sinkiewicz has got across too for T-Mobile. But there's the peloton. Well, it's taken a long time, but we're almost all together, and that'll be a first for the day.
That's not the whole of the peloton, though, because there you can see the cars a little bit further back. This, in fact, small climb here of the Gulpenberg has caused a split in the main field, Phil, and I can see a group coming across of around about 30 or 35 riders. So this is the first serious split in the peloton.
And that was due to that attack by Barredo, who looks to me as though he's having another go here on the left of the road. That'll be the second in as many kilometres, as he now tries to break it up once again. Now, who's going to react? And that is typical now. It's been such a pressure over this last 2 kilometres. This time they're all looking at each other, and Carlos Barredo, who has only won, he finished third, he won the third stage of the Tour Down Under in January 2006, and he's never won a race since.
Well, he's trying to put the fire amongst the riders this afternoon as he moves off the front end of the group, looks over his shoulders, still, I think, trying to set it up for the team leader there. You can see Michael Bogert. He's made the front end of the split. There is Paolo Bettini in the white jersey with the rainbow bands around the middle, looking calm as you like. He's riding at the front end. He's always been there, Phil. He is, as you said just a little bit earlier, one of those very special riders who can hold his place, lock his place at the front end of the main field without putting in too much effort.
All right, well, while we look down here, the men very much under pressure. Let me just remind you, because many of you have spoken to me and said, why aren't Versus covering the Giro d'Italia? Well, we are, of course, covering the Giro d'Italia. And in May, it's Italy's Tour de France. We'll hit the road both on Versus and on the web. So sign up at Versus.com for exclusive commercial-free streaming video and catch the Giro d'Italia here on Versus every cyclist and Sunday starting from May the 13th. So there you are. You can enjoy the first big Grand Tour of the year with us. And we're enjoying the Amstel Gold right now. And this is the rider who's causing a little bit of consternation as they now gather strength behind. He's not going away, but he is causing a rethink in the peloton.
Well, he's going to get the big man with a hammer in a moment, because he's going to turn off this wide, comfortable boulevard and hit the next climb in the race, which is going to be the Kreisberg.
So the peloton all coming together. The boys at the back taking a few deep breaths as we get to the end hour of the Amstel Gold race. Everything to race for. See you in a moment.
Send us your video about how much you love your Cervelo, and you can win great prizes. Your clip may even be shown on television during the Tour de France. Go to www.cervelo.com for details.
This is the good part of the pave.
Think you know bull riding? Join Tractor Supply and Versus to test your skills. It's one for the money. Just log on to versus.com/TSC and pick the rider you think will win the next PBR One for the Money event. One lucky fan will have a shot at the jackpot each week. And every entry gives you a chance to win a trip to the PBR World Finals, as well as other great Tractor Supply prizes. The PBR, Saturday and Sunday night. The competition is on Versus.
We got just what you need to keep your yard beautiful and weed-free. Let's start with fertilizer.
We're here because we've been there with the tools, products, and advice to get it done right. True Value. Start right, start here.
Switch to Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Long live your car.
We're here at Bruce Rossmeyer's Destination Daytona, home to one of the largest motorcycle dealerships in the world. Let's go talk to Bruce. So Bruce, this place you built, it's like a theme park for bikers.
Yep.
And because of this place, you sell a lot of motorcycles.
Yeah.
And the bikes, they need to be insured?
Of course.
So why do your customers like Geico Motorcycle Insurance?
Because this guy saves people money, and he's always around to help.
Mr. Rossmeyer, call line 5. Mr. Rossmeyer.
Geico Motorcycle. Let's ride.
If you're looking to refinance, cash out equity, or purchase a new home, you can count on Ditech to provide you with a great rate and outstanding personal service. Call us now at 1-800-71-FIXED to lock in a low fixed rate and get your conditional loan approval decision right on the phone in minutes. With Ditech, you can close your loan in 30 days or less. And since Ditech is backed by GMAC, you can be confident every step of the way. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Everybody lives for Game 7. Only one team survives. The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs on Versus. Game 7 tonight.
Well, welcome back. Here we are now. We've just started the slopes of the Kreisberg, and this will be interesting now here in the Amstel Gold. And it's Astana, who have really stayed in the shadows of everybody else all day, who are now driving this race.
Well, I can only think that Astana are trying to ride for their man who was a former Russian national champion, Sergei Ivanov. Not far away is Michael Bogert. Bogert must be very nervous now. He's there in about 4th position in the red, white, and blue. Right on his tail is the world champion Paolo Bettini. Jiminy Cricket, they call him. And he is all over his machine, all over the front end of the peloton. We're now seeing a little bit of the consternation at the back, Phil, as riders are slowly but surely now starting to be peeled off. There's been a big split, and I'm sure we will continue to get splits of riders coming off the peloton. Oscar Freire right in the middle there as well in the orange jersey. I wonder if he'll try and steal the glory away from Michael Bogert, or whether or not he will try and get himself the victory, get the team the victory for Bogert in his last year of racing.
I just feel he'll work for Bogert today, but he could win this race in his own right, Oscar Freire. He's not just a sprinter, he's a very, very good all-round rider.
Jaroslav Popovic on the right-hand side as well for Team Discovery. He would like to try and create the surprise. He knows his team are doing very well in the United States at the moment in the Tour of Georgia, so he will maybe try and see whether or not he can notch up a big win here as well. Small, narrow roads here on the Kreisberg. It really is a magnificent day of racing, Phil, completely different to races of the Amstel Gold Race in the past where we've seen snow and we've been unable to bring pictures because of the fog.
Well, Springer's sprung here. Life not so good at the back. Wim van Huffel is the rider there from Lotto. Is beginning to lose. That's how you nip round the outside, get through the falling leaves, as it were, and right onto the front. And now again being stretched here. And just watch Bettini and Bogart, their third and fourth riders in the line. I think Bettini today, he is looking for the win. And again, the team Quick-Step are doing it for him. And so as they drive on at the front, and once more, we're witnessing here as he snatches a bottle there, and it's a Rabobank bottle as well, so it was obviously a placed team official. Michael Bogart is looking very, very sharp today and being driven on by the thought he'll never do this again.
Well, Jürgen de Waal is the man there from Quick-Step moving up to the front. You see how you have to take every risk possible to move up to the front. You don't get many chances when you're locked in the main field, and when you see your chance, you've got to take it, because you might have to wait another 10 or 15 kilometers to move to the front. This is the area of the Limburg, and I don't think, Phil, I've ever seen it look quite so magnificent as we're seeing it here this afternoon.
Jérôme Pinault is the rider from Bouygues Telecom, sitting at the back of the line. Now there's no chance the camera here will get through to the front for the moment. This is a very narrow descent, and everybody just holds the positions that they've got up the climb until the next time. There's Wim van Huffel rejoining, slipped off the back on the climb, but he lives to fight another day as he gets onto the tail of the peloton. Time is now running out. We're inside 20 miles from the finish. Rabobank want to take control of this ice. 21 kilometers to go. That's about 13 miles to go to the finish. And an initial attack here by Rabobank, and it is coming from Peter Weening. Well, we've seen Peter Weening. He's a good climber, and he's the long, tall, thin boy on the Rabobank. And this is a softener. This is to try and draw this, because Weening could win this race. His job now is to draw the attacks from the other teams and protect Bogart.
Well, it is a crazy race, the Amstel Gold Race. They get as many of the cars off the road as possible, but there are so many spectators, and these roads are so narrow, there's hardly anywhere you can put your cars when you want to come and see this race. This now, Phil, is the start of the Eisenbosweg, and this is the next climb of the day. This is climb number 28 as we start it with 21 kilometers to go. Weening has been brought back into the main field, but you can see now this is not a very big group, Phil. There's been a serious thinning out.
Well, it's partly due to the oppression, it's partly due to the very narrow twisting roads. The sharp switchbacks we've just seen Weening go through, not so easy to negotiate when you're in the big peloton here. And look out, here comes Jiminy Cricket, just moving into a position where he can see exactly what is going on as he moves centre of the picture. And up on the outside now, Case Depon trying to move this. The one man I haven't seen anything of at all is Alejandro Valverde.
Well, he doesn't need to come to the front until the last 300 or 400 meters. And we saw Danilo De Luca a little bit earlier on, and I think that might be Danilo De Luca just over on the left-hand side. But this is turning out to be a very difficult climb. Marcus Burkhardt, I'm a little bit surprised here, Phil, to see him in difficulty. But after all, he's had a very good Flandrian Classics.
He did. He won Gent Wevelgem, and that was his flag of the Spring Classics for sure. And we don't know. He's been doing a lot of work here for his team today. It may be job done now. As again, Bogart sits there, second wheel, top of our picture. On his wheel is the world champion, Paolo Bettini. And I think Valverde is up near the front, but he's sitting about 7 lines back here in this leading group. They know now it's becoming a little bit of a shadow boxing competition because all of the favourites have got themselves to the front.
Looks like Karsten Kroon in the middle there for Team CSC. He's a rider who loves this race as well. There you can see Popovic in the dark blue jersey of Team Discovery Channel now starting to move to the front. On the right-hand side are the riders from Saunier Duval. You can see this is now becoming a little bit of a waiting game. These riders want to stay at the front 10 or 15 places, Phil, because they know immediately after this climb they've got in about 2 kilometers time another climb, the Fromberg. But for them, they all fear the climb that comes at 12 kilometers to go, the Kuttenberg.
An attack going from Gerolsteiner up on the inside. He wants to liven things up. It's pulled them into a straight line again. Stefan Schumacher, who is on the team, it says 117, but I think it is 117, and it is Stefan Schumacher, and now he's trying to break this up in favour possibly of David Rebellin.
Well, Stefan Schumacher, despite that bandage on his knee, was involved in an accident a little while ago. He reckons he's possibly got the form to ride well, and look how aggressive and attentive Paolo Bettini is there in second place. Bogert, the boogeyman, just pushing it at the back there, battling to get onto the wheel. He doesn't want to let anybody move off the front here. They've got a slight gap, Phil.
Yeah, there's a little split here. Bogart is watching Bettini today. They've ridden side by side throughout this race, and I think Bogart might think Bettini is the man to be afraid of as they continue. This is a little bit further down here now because Eric Zabel, we thought he might get to the finish today, but he's opened up the gap. Now this is split, and it's been caused by Schumacher, who's tagged on to the back, as Bettini, and this is such a typical move by this rider, is now trying to split up, and Bogart is with him.
Well, Bettini knows when to take his chance. When he sees it, he'll grab it with both hands, and he's got himself a nice little gap here of about 15 seconds with only 5 riders chasing.
So Bettini, Schumacher starting the move, and Michael Bogart, the rest are trying to scurry across. It's not decided yet as we go into the last 20 kilometers.
Follow the curving Irish lanes long enough and you'll find yourself in the town of Wicklow. And if you arrive on that most special day in Ireland, you'll find the town celebrating their favorite holiday in traditional fashion.
Hey, John, happy Cinco de Mayo!
We knew the 2007 Motor Trend Truck of the Year would be a tough act to follow. So we took the lead instead. Introducing the most powerful heavy duty on the planet, the all-new Silverado HD.
This is our
Want a 4-star hotel at a 2-star price? Go to Hotwire.com. When 3- and 4-star hotels have unsold rooms, they use Hotwire to fill them, so you get them at prices lower than any other travel site, guaranteed. Like 4 stars in San Francisco, Travelocity price $219, Hotwire price just $102. Why risk paying more when Hotwire gets you unsold rooms at deep discounts? Hotwire.com. 4-star hotels, 2-star prices.
HOTWIRE, Hotwire.com.
Save big on car rentals, too, from $13.95 a day.
This week on the Golf Channel, the Lone Star State will host the Stars of Golf in honor of the man who won 11 straight tour events, Byron Nelson. They all want the trophy that bears his name. And since '68, no other tour event has had more playoffs. Who will be next to have their name on the Lord Byron hardware? Find out on the Golf Channel. The race for the FedEx Cup continues at the EDS Byron Nelson Championship, Thursday and Friday at 3 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Golf Channel.
Come on, ladies, 3 a.m. feeding. A hungry baby waits for no one. Spoon and feed. Spoon and feed. Spoon and feed. Move it, move it, move it.
There's no formal training to be a mother or how to eat when you're pregnant. That's why there's WIC. WIC provides nutrition information, healthcare referrals, even food. Your child has you, and you have WIC.
While other kids were playing games, Jenny was building sandcastles. No one thought she'd ever live in one, except for Jenny. Go inside the world's most extreme homes. All new series. Mondays at 9 on HGTV.
Find exactly what you need at Searchlight 888. Press 888 on your Comcast digital remote and go exactly where you want without leaving your sofa. Make your job search easier with Careers on Searchlight 888.
Welcome back, and what a race this is now turning out to be here in Holland. The pressure being applied now by Schumacher, but coming up to the leaders in the scurrying movement is none other than David Rebellin, and Matthias Kessler has got up here as well. And the last 2 times Kessler has raced these roads, he has won.
That is absolutely remarkable. You know, when you've been anywhere in the world, there's a problem at the back here. It looked as if that was one of the riders from Milram trying to get himself back into the race. And it... Well, that's he crashed going around that corner. You know, these corners, you see, this is such a tricky course here. You've got to be, even if you're at the front end of the race, you've got to be very careful. The conditions this afternoon are not really made difficult by the dampness, but they're made difficult by the dry, because there's a lot of sand and grit on these roads.
Back up with the leaders now. Paolo Bettini is in there. He stopped working when he saw Bettini come up and Rebellin come up, but now he's taken over again. Here comes a big effort from Michael Bogart now. These are the efforts you want to make at this stage. 174 there, sitting at the back at the moment is Matthias Kessler. Rebellin is in the middle, and we've got Rebellin is just tagged on the back rather now. Hasn't done a lot to contribute to the split at the moment.
Well, he was the last man to get across. He's trying to get his breath back, I think, because he saw the effort. He realized when you've seen Michael Bogart go, you've seen Paolo Bettini go, you've got to get across that gap as quickly as possible. They're holding on here to around about a 10-second advantage, and there is the move by Alejandro Valverde, I think, off the front of this group. He too has seen the danger.
It has to come, because those are the big names. This is 52 goes passing through the camera is the other young star, Ricardo Rico. But that could well be the figure dodging away off the front of Alessandro Valverde, and that tells us that he believes that that could be the winning move of the day there, with Bogart, Rebellin and Bettini in it. And frankly, Paul, there are no bigger names in the race than those except Alessandro Valverde, and he has now made his move to try and bridge the gap.
Well, he's scuttling across at the moment. He's seen how important it is to try and get himself across to that move, and here he is halfway across the gap. He knows how important it is. You don't let a man like Paolo Bettini scuttle off before the end of a big race like this.
Well, he's absolutely pounding the biggest gear on the machine here. He knows he's got to get across, and get across quickly, because I'm sure this break is going to go now. Bogart is driving on the front. Here comes the race favourite, Valverde, bridging the gap.
Well, I tell you what, isn't it rather ironic, because it was on the stage of the Tour de France into Valkenburg that this man we're looking at here actually crashed and broke his collarbone and had to retire from the game. Here you can see now David Rebellin, and that is Stefan Schumacher in there. There's Paolo Bettini, Michael Bogart looking for the win. Matthias Kessler getting himself onto the back of the group too.
Yes, and Kessler watching carefully every move today. He feels the countryside around here is his own property, I think, after he won a stage of the Tour de France here. Hasn't done a lot of work yet, but he's got across to what I think is the move now. The crowd enjoying the situation. And here comes a rider here from Rabobank, also digging very, very deeply.
Well, this is Thomas Dekker trying to get himself back into the race. That is the second group on the road there, Phil. You can see he's just made the junction. This is a huge race for Team Rabobank. This is their race. They've dominated this race so many times over the years. And Dekker, actually one of the pre-race favourites, just struggling a bit, I think, this year to find his form.
Well, he's still very, very young. He's come right through the Rabobank basic nursery teams to Rabobank 3. He's now on the #1 Rabobank team. He's read it well. He's got onto that group, as that group now has got to decide what to do. But a lot of riders here will be very happy that their team leaders have made that split, and there won't be a determined chase by most of them in this group. Over the ridge are the leaders. It is still bridgeable, but only just, and somebody else is trying to cross the gap.
Well, this is Danilo De Luca looking down from the helicopter here, and that shape there of the Gerolsteiner rider with him looks like Fabian Wegmann. You can see there, this is really a desperate struggle for survival. In fact, you can see here, Phil, there are the 5 riders. De Luca, I think, here has actually gone straight past Alejandro Valverde, who may well not have made the junction.
He has not crossed the gap yet, and we're going to have 7 leaders here, and Wegmann now makes it 3 Gerolsteiner riders in this split, and that is quite amazing at the moment. Rebellin is their favourite. Stefan Schumacher was the man that caused all of the problems. And now this really is a battle of the men of the high class. Only the strongest are getting up to the front. I can't see that group behind coming up to them now. And where is Valverde? He's not here. Our cameras seem to have lost him. We've slipped back to the second group here, because that is Dekker, who's latching on at the back.
Well, the big question here, Phil, is actually who is going to chase, because most of the big names are represented in the front. Nobody really seems to have missed out, except, of course, for Team CSC. And we're just looking at the back of this group here, and it looks as if CSC are pretty much represented. But I wonder where Frank Schleck is.
Well, he got back, but the split has come pretty soon after he made the junction back into the action here. They're looking from the helicopter. 3, 6, 7 riders. There's no black jersey of Valverde, but this group now settling down. They can't afford to back off the gas at the moment because that group behind is not that far back.
They're just going to drop down into the town of Hulpen. That's the next big town that they will go through. And Hulpen, you can see, Phil, is the foot of the Kuttenberg. I just saw a glimpse through the trees there of another rider coming across. That may well be Valverde, still scrambling to get back on.
It's the black jersey of Kees de Paan. He hasn't got back. He must have got past somehow, didn't get onto the wheel of Diluca. But there's the group coming off the hill now. Valverde is finally going to bridge the gap. Then there will be 8. And I can't think of any favourites here. Any names here, Paul. They're all favourites. I mean, look at that lineup now. Bettini, the world champion, is here as well. Let me remind you that this May on Versus, the USA set sail with one goal in mind: to bring back the cup. The duel for the supremacy of the seas is on. The 32nd America's Cup will be live starting May the 14th only on Versus. As we now see the breakaway going clear, and this is another attack here now, another little softener, and this looks like Fabian Weckmann.
Well, he's looking to try and set it up, take a bit of pressure off the shoulders of David Rebellin and, of course, Stefan Schumacher as he turns into this left-hand corner here. This, Phil, is the start of the big climb they all fear, the Kuttenberg.
We're heading towards the Kuttenberg, and remember, looking at a rider here who's conquered the mountains in the Tour of Italy. As Schumacher made the first move that's caused this split, now Weckmann is making a move here. He wants to break up this group, and Gerolsteiner are riding a brilliant race today. Well, they're going to nail him back on this occasion as the hard work is being done by Danilo De Luca. But as they all come together now, they're facing up to the steep climb of the Kuttenberg. We'll take a break.
If you persevere through life and do the right thing, there's always an opportunity for you to turn things around and make a good life for yourself. While I was in the Navy, I attended ITT Tech, and upon graduation, I was recruited by Schlumberger. What I enjoy most about my job is that they recruit some of the best candidates from all over the world, so you get to work with some really intelligent people from different cultures and backgrounds. You need to live up to your potential. I carry that over to my children and really explain and reiterate to them how important it is to get an education. ITT Tech's curriculum is quite demanding. My wife and my children are my inspiration and drive in life. That's whom I live and work for.
We are educators helping people build a foundation for the rest of their lives. ITT Technical Institute, education for the future. Call 1-800-942-0088 or visit us on the web. Get an education that can help you reach your goals. ITT Tech has information on financial aid programs for those who qualify. Call 1-800-942-0088 today.
This is Jeff Norman. He doesn't get health insurance from an employer, so he's been buying it himself for years. He's healthy, so he wonders why his rates keep going up. Liz Sloan wants health insurance, but doesn't think she can afford it. We're Assurant Health, and we've been customizing plans to meet the needs of individuals for over 110 years. For instance, with our 2-year rate guarantee and healthy discount, Jeff will get 15% off his rate and lock in that rate for 2 years. For Liz, we offer plans that allow people like her to pay for only the benefits they need, saving them money. In fact, Liz could get up to $2 million of coverage for less than $100 per month. Unlike other health insurance companies that focus on corporations and treat everyone the same, Assurant Health is there for the individual. So if you need health insurance, call the number on your screen, visit our website, or contact your local agent.
Call now to find out how you can save hundreds of dollars a year on your health insurance. Call 1-800-335-6327.
The road to Paris begins on the back roads of Georgia. This year's Tour de Georgia is the toughest ever, and the Americans have much to prove to keep the yellow jersey. Who will lead for Discovery? Levi Leipheimer or 2005 winner Tom Danielson? The Cyclism Tour de Georgia, presented by Hampton Hotels. Saturday and Sunday, 5 Eastern on Versus.
Welcome back. We're 12 kilometres from the end. This is the climb of the Kuttenberg now in the Amstel Gold race. These are the 8 leaders. We've seen them all come together. There they are. Bettini, Valverde, Rebellin. Also up there is Kessler, Bogart, Schumacher, Weckmann, the last to get up along with Valverde. Now, are we going to see a decisive attack?
Well, this is Danilo De Luca. Look at his face. He's gasping for breath here. Bettini looks calm and collected. Bettini's tactic here, Phil, is going to be sit and wait because he can nail any of these guys in the sprint, apart from the man in the penultimate position there, Alejandro Valverde. After all, it was Valverde who took the win in Liège-Bastogne-Liège last year in the sprint ahead of Paolo Bettini. You can just see in the distance the front end of the main field, but these are really the heads of state. They've decanted themselves to the front end of the peloton. Now the Kuttenberg gets very difficult indeed. None of these riders, I don't think, have the ability to attack each other because this is the steepest part of the climb. From the summit of the Kuttenberg, Phil, there are 12 kilometers to go to the finish. This is a beast of a climb.
It is the climb out of the bowels of the area of South Limburg here. It's a very steep climb, but it's going to, I think, allow those strong men to open up the gap. There's the descent gradient sign there now. But remember, Gerolsteiner have come up this hill with 3 riders in the breakaway.
I think they've just lost one, actually, because I have a funny feeling Fabian Wegman, here he is, has gone pop and straight out of the back.
This is Rico.
Rico now trying to get himself into the race. He knows how dangerous this race is, and he knows this is a big chance to try and ride himself up to the front end of the group. This is Johan van Summeren riding well as well off the front end of the main field. You can see the main field now, Phil. They are all suffering. There in the background is the small town there of Sken on Gule, and that is the start town, as everybody knows, of the Kuttenberg. Rebellin now trying to put the hammer down.
Well, this is Van Summers having a great classic season. He's a real strong rider, but he's going to have a lot of work cut out. Kim Kirken also trying to get across the group, but I think they might have all realised this is their last chance here to reach the leaders, to use this as the springboard, and I don't think they can. I think they've allowed the door to open that little bit too wide. Wegman caused the split for his team. He's paid the price. He might get back, but he'll have to be very close to them over the summit. This now is the Amstel Gold race in full cry here as they head towards the finish and the last 11 kilometers of the day.
Full cry and full swing, but just thinking about the composition of that leading group, Phil, I'm not sure who really wants to chase or who really can chase.
How
because
about
look
Bettini?
at Bettini now. He's going. He really wants this race this afternoon. And straight onto his wheel, Alejandro Valverde, looking for Spain's #1 win in the Amstel Gold race since it was created back in 1966.
This is the race now of the strong men. The cream has come to the top of the Amstel Gold race. Alejandro Valverde, I think, probably went out #1 favourite today. Was a little bit tardy, but he joined the leading group. Michael Bogart, the perennial favourite for the Netherlands, is back up in a decisive move yet again and willing to work with the riders he will fear on the climb of the Cowberg.
Well, the difficult thing for Bogart, who's been a professional since 1994 and will retire at the end of this season, Phil, is his worst point in his condition is his ability to sprint, because he has no chance of winning the sprint against Valverde or against Paolo Bettini. If he wants to win this race for a second time in his last year as a professional, he's got to win it alone.
Yes, and I think that's going to be a big ask today for these riders. We're slipping back just a little bit down the line here because this is Andreas Clear of the T-Mobile squad. They've missed the move today, T-Mobile, as Bettini scrabbles through. Remember, he rides for Quick Step. It was his team that started the early attacks to pave the way for him to start this leading group. In the end, it was his attack and Stefan Schumacher who split the field. And now Bogart realising what they've got. They've got rid of one Gerolsteiner rider, but they're going to worry about David Rebellin, that's for sure.
Well, they don't need to worry about anything, I don't think, now. They need to work together. They need, in fact, to form an alliance to get themselves to the bottom of the Cowberg, because the main field are still only at around about 20-odd seconds, and anything could change. If these guys start to play the tactical maneuvers and somebody sits back and doesn't want to contribute to the pacemaking, they'll find themselves getting caught. But there are so many big names in this group, I can't believe they will be seen again as De Luca looks across to see just how the legs are of Alejandro Valverde.
Now, this is life in amongst the team cars now. Riders who get dropped get their eyes full of dust because there's no alternative. The cars can't even pass the riders to give them help. Now, as they fight their way through the line, let's go back up the front here now. Bogart doing an enormous amount of work. These are the riders struggling at the back of the race. Just looking here, still it's Thomas Dekker who tried desperately to reach the front, and I think just read the move just a little bit too late. Oscar Freire, he wasn't here to win today, I don't think. He'll rest on his laurels now, knowing that Bogart has made the split.
Well, he'll sit there and just be the joker in the pack, because if it all comes back together, he knows that he's got a very mean sprint to unleash, but he won't do any work at all, because as far as he's concerned, he wants Michael Bogart there in the red, white and blue, the champion of Holland, to try and get himself the victory, but he's up against some serious clients. Valverde in the black and red. There's the world champion, Paolo Bettini. Stefan Schumacher going through there as well, and Danilo De Luca. All of these riders, Phil, well, 3 of them at least, Valverde, Bettini and Danilo De Luca are experts at uphill sprint finishes.
Yeah, well, don't forget the one man just taking a drink there, Matthias Kessler, won the stage of the Tour de France on the same finishing line. He came back, I think it was in the September, October, and he won a circuit race, all in Valkenburg. That's where we're headed. Kessler has got himself motivated and has got in this breakaway, and he's the rider that most riders will not really rate quite so highly, but he knows the hill and he knows he can win. I wouldn't mark him out just yet. But this is the chase group now getting itself organised. I'm not sure whether they're in danger, the leaders up front here. Taking a drink, Michael Bogert. And let me just quickly remind you of the breakaway. It's Bettini, Schumacher, Bogart, Rebellin, Kessler, Valverde and Danilo De Luca. And that is a very, very much the cream of the cream. Sadly, Frank Schleck, who crashed, did get back into the peloton, but I'm afraid it hasn't had the legs to mix it with them at that long and vicious chase. That's bad luck for last year's champion.
Very difficult. This is the Cop group. We're looking at 50 seconds now is the gap they've got over the Achtervolkers, the chasers. That should be enough, but still feel they cannot mess about at all. They've got to get themselves into Kauberg at the base of the climb and the town of Valkenburg.
Well, we're looking at the Cop group right now. Here is Frank Schleck. So we're not looking at the Cop group, we're looking at a chase group here. Frank Schleck in the group, which I think might be the second or the third group on the road. I can't see them bridging this gap. No, he's riding here with Oscar Freire. They're in the second group, so he's done well to do that. He's around about 50-55 seconds behind as we run back in to the last few kilometres of the day. Well, the race looks as though it might be settled, but there's so many favourites in that lead group. The question is, who is going to win? It'll be the battle for the finish when we come back.
G'day, I'm Stuart O'Grady, part of Team CSC, and I'm riding the 2007 edition of the R3. It just seems to float across the cobbles. The faster you go, the easier it seems. It's definitely the best bike I've ever ridden.
To Valvoline's Max Life, and there's no telling how long your car will keep going. Max Life not only protects against friction, but also leaks, deposits, and sludge, the 4 major causes of high-mileage engine breakdown. Long live your car.
The road to Paris begins on the back roads of Georgia. This year's Tour de Georgia is the toughest ever, and the Americans have much to prove to keep the yellow jersey. Who will lead for discovery? Levi Leipheimer or 2005 winner Tom Danielson? The Cyclism Tour de Georgia, presented by Hampton Hotels. Saturday and Sunday, 5 Eastern on Versus.
Down the remote, get off the couch, stop whatever you're doing, and call this number right now. If you're unemployed or underemployed, you have to pick up the phone and call right now. Exciting and rewarding career fields are out there. Call the number on your screen right now. We can help you get the skills you need to succeed. Get a career, not just a job. Call the number on your screen right now for a free brochure.
Call 1-800-752-1232 now for a free brochure. 1-800-752-1232. Write this number down right now if you're out of high school or soon will be, unemployed or underemployed. If you're looking to turn your career around, this is the number you should call. 1-800-752-1232. The call is free, and so is the career brochure from Lincoln College of Technology. A new career can be as simple as making this phone call. 1-800-752-1232. Write that number down. Call Lincoln College of Technology today and be on your way to an exciting career tomorrow.
Sunday's coverage of Amstel Gold on Versus is presented by Hampton Hotels. Visit us online at hampton.com or call 1-800-HAMPTON.
Welcome back. We are now just about 5 kilometers from the end of the stage. The status quo is the same. 7 leaders and a small group of chasers, including last year's winner, Frank Schleck.
Well, I tell you what, Michael Berger there, Phil, in second position, must be thinking, how am I going to win this? How can I win this in my last year as a professional bike rider? He's up against some of the fastest finishers in the world. The only way he can do it, in my opinion, is a last-minute attack once he gets onto the slopes of the Cowberg. But the guys who he is with are very attentive athletes. That's Danilo De Luca on the back, just in front of De Luca as we go over the helter-skelter here, the roller coaster descent down into Valkenburg. There is Alejandro Valverde. Just in front of him in the turquoise of Astana is Matthias Kessler. As you said, he won here at a stage of the Tour de France last year when the Tour came here. In front of him, Paolo Bettini. This is a roll call of the heads of state of the sport of cycling and, of course, the kings of the one-day classics in the hilly ones anyway.
And if we doubted the form of Danilo De Luca, and we did, we wasn't sure whether he was riding really well. Well, he's made the split. One of the last riders to catch this breakaway before it rushed out of the station and left everybody else standing on the platform. We're now seeing this breakaway. It's down to 7. Fabian Weckmann did a terrific turn for the team and then couldn't hold them on the climb of the Gulpenberg, so he's gone back. We're heading to Valkenburg town now, and as everybody knows, there's only one way out of Valkenburg in the Amstel Gold, and it's up the Cowberg to the finishing line. This is a horrible little climb. It's got a gradient, I suppose, about 15%, I think it is, Paul.
It's a 15% gradient at the bottom, but the difficult thing is the finish is over the top of the climb, so you've got to judge your sprint to absolute perfection. If you go too soon, you'll find your legs just giving out. We're just coming into the outskirts of the small town of Sibbe. In about 3 kilometers time, Phil, they will come into the town of Valkenburg, which, as you said, is a big holiday resort here, right in the very heart of the Dutch Limburg region. Valverde there on the left-hand side, looking down, making sure that the gears are right, making sure that his shoes are nice and tight, because he knows this is going to go down to the sprint. They will all keep a very close eye here on the man in the red, white and blue, because the man in red, white and blue is Michael Bogard, a winner of this race back in 1999 and 4 times finishing second.
I'll go back a year. At this point, Frank Schleck was holding off a very select chase group of Weisserman, Bogart, Karsten Kroon, Sinkovic. Rebelima's there as well, and he knows how to ride. He's going again.
This is Schumacher. I think this is Schumacher trying to move off the front.
Well, that'll be the softener.
That'll be the softener to try and...
there's Rebellin third wheel.
Now this is the tactical advantage of having 2 men in the group. Michael Bogard thinking, what am I doing here? I'm locked into place here. They swing across the road. It's these moments of pausing that gives an advantage to somebody, but De Luca knows this. He knows you've got to put it down now. You've got to nail it back.
Well, Bogart can't chase everything. He opted not to chase that. They were hoping Valverde would take up the chase. He did just, but De Luca quickly up the front to give him a hand. But this, you see, is a battle. Now, when you get guys who have got the reputation of these in the chase group, who is going to chase? Because the man that chases might well destroy his own chance to win. And this is a very favourable and a very clever move here by Stefan Schumacher, because he's got Rebellin in the wings waiting to take over if they nail him back. Bogart has a dilemma now. He doesn't know what to do here.
Well, Bogart can't chase. Bettini wants somebody to chase. Valverde wants somebody to chase. The big problem is, Phil, there are too many heads of state in that group there, and they need to form an alliance very quickly, because every kilometre that goes by now, it allows this man to get that little bit closer to the town of Valkenburg and that very famous left-hand turn, which will take him to the start of the Cowberg. If he starts that climb with 15 seconds, they'll never see him again.
Well, Stef Schumacher finished 9th in this race last year, so he knows the way up to the finish all right. He's not a big winner, but he is. He had, in fact, he notched 9 wins last year, including the time trial. He's a very good time trial rider, so if you let him go away, he got the time trial on the Saxon Tour. There's the counter-attack now. Danilo De Luca wants action. I think that was the kilometre banner above the head, because we're starting the climb towards the finish. And there's 700 metres to go. This is a Frank Schleck deja vu, but this time his name is Stefan Schumacher. Something slipped on the gears there, and that hurt. Now he's got to find his rhythm again.
Well, the gears were having a little bit of a problem there. He's on the big ring. He's going to dig very deep. These guys are messing around. They're losing this race this afternoon. They are throwing away the Amstel Gold race to Stefan Schumacher. He's already had a win here this year in the Tirreno Adriatico, but look at that gap.
Well, he's had a stage win there, and has he got the gap? I think he has, you know. This was the problem, because nobody would take up the chase and throw their own chance of winning away, so they're all going to pay the price. This will really frustrate people like Paolo Bettini. They were all waiting for Valverde to chase him down, and he didn't do it. And now they put him on the front to set the pace to the summit. And at the back there is Michael Bogart as he starts the Cowberg for the very last time in his career. Twice third, 4 times second. He's won the race, and he could be on the podium again.
He could very well be on the podium. We're looking here now at a move by Matthias Kessler. He's seen the infighting, and he's decided to go with 400 metres to go.
Well, Kessler only knows victory in Valkenburg last year. Let's see what he can do this time. The face of Schumacher as he heads towards what would certainly be his biggest ever win. 2005, he was 2006, he got a 9th place finish here a year ago, and it looks now as though Schumacher is going to convert that to gold.
Well, he's trying to. He's just got to survive. He's starting to hit the wall a fraction now, but his body's saying keep going, find that little bit more extra energy. This is the 2nd place rider on the road here now as Michael Bugard makes the acceleration behind, but it's too late. On his wheel is Paolo Bettini as he tries to move it forward as well, but these guys, I feel today, Phil, have thrown the race away because there were too many big names there.
It's a battle of tactics, and Stefan Schumacher has got the victory as he crosses the line, and look at that now. Now who's going to get the podium place? Kessler has blown it as they race for the line. De Luca is trying to get through with Bettini on his shoulder, and there's no podium for Michael Bogart. Paolo Bettini will take 2nd, De Luca 3rd, Kessler 4th, and on the line there is Bogart.
I think that was Rebellin came up there and got himself 2nd place, because there
yes,
is
sorry,
Paolo
you're
Bettini, but
right.
there you can see Michael Bogard crossing the line for the last time here in the Amstel Gold race. It wasn't a fairy tale ending for him, but unfortunately for him, I have to say, Phil, there were too many stars in that group.
Too many favourites. They blew it wildly there because they all watched each other, and they've allowed Stefan Schumacher to take the victory. This is the 2nd group here, which contains, amongst others, Oscar Freire, as Freire now tries to finish off here, and I think it'll be a formality for him with his fine punch. He's one of the few all-round bike riders who can sprint even after a tough climb, and he'll come home as best of the rest, which will put him in about 8th place today.
Well, I tell you what, as we see Oscar Freire come across the line there, I'm a little bit surprised about the host television broadcaster, the NOS from Holland, because they were more interested in Michael Bogard, Phil, they actually missed this man, Stefan Schumacher, crossing the line in 1st place. Very rare that happens.
Well, there it is. A look back now at how he won. Stefan Schumacher zips up his jersey. He looks over his shoulder. The camera's back there looking for the whereabouts of Michael Bogart, but this man punches the air, gets his 2nd win of the year to add to his Stage 5 win in Tirreno Adriatico, and without doubt, the biggest win of his career. Well done, Stefan Schumacher. He took advantage of the tactics and the infighting when the favourites fell foul to their own game. Well, let's have a look at the final results, and really all of the day's favourites were in the result today, with the exception probably of Popovic of Team Discovery Channel. But it was a win for Stefan Schumacher and a 1-2 for Gerolsteiner, with David Rebellin, a previous winner, taking 2nd. Danilo De Luca really pulling a special finish out to grab 3rd place, and the man who's won here on the last 2 visits in other races, Matthias Kessler, finishing 4th here in the Amstel. Michael Bogart, sadly, on his big retirement day, there was no podium place for him in 5th. Valverde 6th, the world champion Bettini in 7th, and Oscar Freire in 8th. And look at that, in 10th place, coming late at the end, a terrific ride by the man who crashed, Frank Schleck, completing the top 10. So here he comes, Gerolsteiner getting a 1-2 in the Amstel Gold. All 3 of them either a winner or previous winners on the podium today. As Stefan Schumi, they call him, Schumacher, congratulated by David Rebellin, a former winner, and also the 2005 winner, Danilo De Luca. And there he is, Paul. That's the man who never made the podium. That was Michael Bogart, mobbed by the press because it was his final Amstel Gold race.
Yeah, well, I think the big advantage, Team Gerolsteiner had 2 riders in that leading group, and they were able to play the tactical moves. And with so many big names there in the final as well, nobody really wanted to blow their chances by chasing him down.
So looking here at the happiness of the winner, Stefan Schumacher, and he's really got his form this year, but this is a tremendous result for Team Gerolsteiner, one which will annoy the big #1 team of the country in Germany, T-Mobile. And he's the last German to win this race, by the way, was Eric Zabel back in 2000. So they've updated their own record book. So the Amstel Gold is over for another year. But next weekend here on Cyclism Sundays, we're also with you on Saturday. The world's best ride in the King of American Cycling in the Tour of Georgia. That's over 650 miles in 7 days. See a 2-hour program on Saturday and catch up with a special 1 hour on Sunday as well. We'll also bring you coverage from the Ardennes down in Belgium for the great classic race, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. The biggest races, from the Spring Classics to the Tour de France, always here on Versus. And let me also remind you, for a complete schedule of all of our cycling programmes, then log on to versus.com. Up next here on Versus, the World Combat League from Miami. And for Paul Sherwen and me, Phil Liggett, for this weekend, we'll say goodbye and watch out for next weekend. It'll be a great one. Goodbye for now.